Hey, it's Garrett. This is my presentation on the Center of Urban Ecology and Sustainability at Butler University. That's the organization that I focused on. So, my field that I focused on was food and agriculture, and also the primary challenges with that. Before we get into CUES for short, um, it's starting off as industrial agricultural production. Obviously, like leads to consume fossil fuels, water, topsoil at unsustainable rates, and then as a result, like this leads to degrading the environment, diminished biodiversity, and it produces a lot of greenhouse gas emissions. Composting, which is relatively beneficial, it reduces the need for chemical fertilizers, promotes higher yields for crops, improves physical, chemical, and organic properties. But not every institution is going to have the financial support or stability to actually fully commit to composting. So that's where the challenge comes in. And then marketing produce. This is mainly to raise citizens' awareness of processed foods. Globally processed foods or industrialized foods. In this particular organization, it focuses a lot on college campuses and dining halls, where college campuses produce over 22 million pounds of food waste annually, and 100% of the food from the actual campus farm within CUES actually goes back to the dining halls, so it is pretty important. About CUES, so they're an organization, like I said, based at Butler, connects student, staff, and the community to research, educate, and empower change to inform and inspire a more sustainable future. So I talked to Julia Angstman, who is the director of the CUES organization. She kind of told me a lot about like their future plans and also like some of their actual programs, like the Indy Wildlife Watch, also the AmeriCorps Vista, which is kind of based on like building community internships, programs as well, and kind of like getting more people involved and educated and promoting awareness. So the two main theoretical frameworks is for CUES is the first one is the traditional ecological understanding of the interactions between and among organisms and the urban environment. So that's kind of based of like the ecosystem in the city, like the Indy area. And then the second one is a systems ecological perspective, where the city itself is viewed as an ecosystem. So that's kind of like the ecosystem of the city. That's kind of how they describe it. And as a result, it's supposed to, they're both supposed to work together to, work best to provide for actual Indianapolis in that area. So in terms of the action plan, they have a lot of ways that they're trying to alleviate the issues, providing tours, communications on farming approaches to agroecology, educating students, staff, in the community, creating a farm curriculum so Butler can see the farm space as more of a resource on campus as well. The student internships, I kind of mentioned that. Advocating more for composting, because that's kind of been one of their big issues as well. And then also creating projects and programs, for the communities in Indianapolis. They're trying to make the most of what they can given the resources that they have. Small independent and family-run farms today use only about 8% of the agricultural land. It's the industry is kind of dominated by large-scale multinational corporations, and it's kind of driven by profit. So I'm going to play this a little bit. It kind of talks about why farming is broken. I'm only going to play like a minute of it, but you can hear a little bit from them too.
Hi, this is Kate from Minute Earth. 10,000 years ago, we humans came up with a revolutionary new idea for how to feed ourselves. Agriculture. Plow land, plant a crop, water, fertilize, harvest, and repeat each year. And today, we're pretty much still doing the same thing as 10,000 years ago. Thanks to the Industrial Revolution, we are producing much larger quantities of food than we used to. But we are also putting far more resources into producing food than we used to. As a result, water levels in the world's largest aquifers are falling faster than they're being replenished. Our underground supply of phosphorus, a nutrient critical to plant photosynthesis, will be exhausted in a few hundred years. And we're using up the very ground itself, since soil blows and washes off of our fields 50 times faster than it forms. We can extend the life of these inputs with resource-saving techniques like precision farming and technologies like gene editing. But it's likely that no amount of retrofitting our 10,000-year approach to farming will make it work for billions of people for the next 10,000 years.
Okay, so that's basically the snippet.
Hi, this is
Okay. Some other challenges and other ways that they're trying to combat these problems. Figuring out a way to improve energy efficiency and carbon neutrality. That's kind of been probably the biggest thing that they're still trying to work toward within food and agriculture. Indiana's kind of a weird place. They're ranked 48th in ozone depletion and air quality. You can see the map there. The red area, not so great in terms of air quality, whereas it's a little bit better like in the middle and lower. But also I think like they could also talk more with local decision makers for policy changes. I know they were going to talk. The plan that when I talked with Julia is they were going to talk more with the actual university, and they kind of seemed like their hands were tied with what they had. But I don't know. I think that they could probably talk with some more local decision makers. Some of their partnerships are local, some of them are not. Maybe they could get some help there too. But one of the partnerships is the Purdue Extension, as well as the Marion County Soil and Water Conservation District, and they use that like to test farm management approaches and to minimize environmental degradation. Also, the University of Virgin Islands and Wyoming Community College, they are partnered with them to for place-based experiential learning curriculum across different institutions. This is from one of the two grants that they actually got in 2016 from the National Science Directory, I believe. So yeah, and then in terms of pesticide control, I feel like they've actually they seem like they have it all straight down. Like again, when I was talking to Julia, like she basically seemed like she had they had this straight down. So they use a polycultural approach with compost and crop rotation to increase organic matter in the soil, and as a result, there's a lot of plant available nutrients that get released. So here's a little bit of CUES in action. On the right, you'll see the Indy Wildlife Watch. We kind of mentioned that a little bit. It's a white-tailed deer. It's a picture of that. They have motion-triggered cameras kind of like throughout the Indy area, like golf courses, schools, cemeteries. So there's that. And then the growing green, I know that's not really a typo. It's pretty interesting, I guess, like how it is. But growing green is a prototype for a fully automated mobile greenhouse designed to address the unique conditions of the urban farm. And they've had this, set up for several years now, but this is also something that kind of came with one of the two grants that they got in 2016. And, they're kind of riding it as well. And yeah, I mean, along with this stuff, like what they use to kind of like track their goals is, sustainability tracking, assessment, reporting systems. So STARS, they use that to track not only their sustainability goals, but also their food related initiatives. So, in terms of moving forward, it seems like they have a strong plan, and I'm excited to see what comes next for CUES. But yeah, I mean, that's basically my presentation. Thanks.